Welcome to the Press Box. I'm Tim. I'm your host today. And I just want to do a quick reminder, guys. If you guys are enjoying the show, please drop a follow, tap on the bell so you get notified when new episodes get posted. Also, you can leave a comment and a 5-star review. It's all simple, seems simple, but it helps the show out so much. So, with that, let's get started, guys. Happy Wednesday, December 11th. And we're going to switch it up a little bit today. I'm going to be previewing the Army-Navy game. This is actually a game I'm excited for this year. You know, both teams are doing really well. You know, Army's 11-1, Navy's 8-3. So I'm really excited for this game. So I wanted to do a little deep dive into that. So we're going to get started first with a little history of the game, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the traditions, and then go over some of the key moments and key games throughout this historic rivalry, and then close it out with my prediction of the game. So let's get started, guys. The game between two armed forces that has become a rivalry, the Army-Navy game, is one of the more iconic and historic rivalries in college football. This will be the 125th time between the two schools. This will be the 125th meeting, guys. This game marks the end of the regular season in college football each year. It is held after the FBS Conference Championship and is, since 2019, played on the second Saturday in December. So, when did this iconic game start? The first meeting was on November 29th, 1890. Navy would go on to win this game 24-0. In the last meeting, December 9th, 2023, Army wins 17-11. So what happened between the first meeting and the last? We're going to find out. Navy leads the series 62, 55, and 7. We will talk about some of those a bit later on. Navy owns the longest win streak of 14. The two schools have met each since their first meeting, except for 10 years. So for 10 years, there's only a 10-year gap where these two did not play each other. And that's not even a consecutive 10 years. It is 10 years spread out. So, you know, these two have met a lot since 1890, only 10 times did they not. So that's a really long historic rivalry going. The game has been uninterrupted since 1930. It has been nationally televised since 1945. Much of 2/3 of the 20th century, both Army and Navy were national powerhouses. And often the game had national championship implications. As the level of competition in college football increased, the academy's stringent admissions height and weight made it hard for both of them to remain competitive. Since 1963, this will be the fifth game where both teams had a winning record. 1996, 2010, 2016, 2017, and now 2024. Only five times has this had a winning record by both schools. That's crazy, guys, to think. You know, 1890 to 2024, and only 5 times has that had a winning record by Army and by Navy. Like I said, Army is 11-1, Navy's 8-3 on the season, guys. And this is a historic rivalry. And, you know, in recent memory, maybe this game didn't have as much, meaning. But this year, honestly, there for a while, we were talking about maybe Army-Navy twice, in the AAC title game and in the traditional Army-Navy game. But, once Navy played Notre Dame, they weren't able to bounce back, and they lost a couple in a row. So, but, Navy's had a great season. They're 8-3. Army's had a great season. They're 11-1. I'm excited for this game. I'm actually probably going to sit here and watch this game. I usually don't. I usually find myself not watching this game because I'm usually watching something else, but I really think I could get behind this game. All right, guys. So we have the traditions of Army Navy, and these traditions are not like most traditions. So what I want to talk about now is some of the traditions. The rivalry is friendly but still very intense. The phrase beat Navy and beat Army are ingrained in the respective institutions and have become a symbol of competitiveness, not just in the Army Navy game, but in the service of the country. The formal prisoner exchange is a long standing tradition, done as pregame activities. The prisoners are the cadets for Army and midshipmen for Navy, spending the semester studying at the sister academy. The winning stands alongside the losing team and faces the losing academy students. Then the losing team accompanies the winning team facing their students. This is done in a show of mutual respect and solidarity. Sl- so- Solidarity. Sorry. The winning team's mater is always played last. The phrase "sing second" has become synonymous with winning the rivalry game. So in this game, you want to have your song played second. In a lot of cases, you might want yours played first. But in this one, you want your song to be played second because that means you have won, and that is just some really cool traditions right there, and really unique. We don't have very many schools that do that. I think, Army Navy is probably the one of the few rivalries that have cool traditions like that. So I'm really excited for this game, guys. The traditions, the history, it's all there. The the game results. I mean, we've got a lot to talk about, and we're gonna keep going, guys. All right. As I mentioned earlier, Navy beat Army 24-0 in the first ever meeting between the two. I want to go over some of the games and outcomes through this rivalry. It wouldn't take Army long to bounce back. The very next year, Army would beat Navy 32-16. So the very first game, it was 24-0 Navy. In the second one, it was Army 32-16. Navy would win the next two meetings by scores of 12-4 and 6-4. So really low scoring games, guys. They had some really low scoring games. And I don't know. It's, kind of intrigues me a little. So we you know, that was in 1892 and 1893 that Navy won those two games. After that, the two wouldn't play again until December 2nd, 1899. So there was a little bit of that gap. We talked about that 10-year gap. There's a little bit of it right there from, after the 93 game to 99. So Army would win this 17-5. From 1901 to 1904, Army put together the first winning streak of the rivalry game, winning four in a row. In 1905, the game ended in a tie. This would be the first of seven. The first from 1913 to 1916, Army had another four-game winning streak. So early on, Army is controlling the rivalry. The two wouldn't play each other from 1919 to 1921. Navy would win three in a row from that time. From 1919 to 1921, Navy would win 3 in a row. This would be the last time Navy would win for the next 10 years. Army would Army won 8 times, including 5 in a row. There were also 2 ties in that 10-year span. From 1939 to 1943, Navy went on a 5-game winning streak. 1944 to 1947 belonged to Army. In 1948, the two schools had their 4th tie. In 1956 was their 5th tie in the series. The late 1950s and early 60s belonged to Navy for the most part, winning 6 out of 7 during that span. In 1965, the teams tied for the 6th time. 1973, Navy would beat Army 51-0, the largest margin of victory in this rivalry. So we already talked about, the longest winning streak. Now Navy owns the largest margin of victory. So, they it's just kind of been a back and forth, guys. It's been back and forth. So this game is going to be good. It's going to be good. I can feel it. But that was just the beginning of Army struggles. Over the next 11 years, Army would win just 1 time. Navy won 9 of that, and in 1981, the game ended in a 3-3 tie, marking the 7th time for them. 1984 to 1998, a 15-year span, things shifted back to Army. Army would win 11 out of 15 during this span. Now, hold on, because we are about to experience total dominance from Navy. From 1999 to 2015, Army would only get 1 win. Navy would win 16 out of 17 during that span, including a 14-game winning streak from 2002 to 2015, the longest winning streak of the rivalry, with the majority of those wins being double digits. In fact, only 4 of the 16 wins by Navy was by less than 10 points. So, we have a little bit of history there, guys. We have a little bit of history, all right? Army, Navy. And what I like about this game is because both teams, they're playing their hearts out, and, they're going, studying to, and training to become, future, Navy and Army, for the United States. But what I really like in the game in particular is, the jerseys just, they go all out on the jerseys. The game that, they do a lot of great things in the game. So I think this is going to be a good one. It's the only college football game on this weekend. Well, that's not true. Bowl season started. But I'm definitely going to be watching. I'm definitely going to be watching the Army Navy game. I've already got it penciled in. It comes on at 2:00 Central Time, I believe. I believe it is 2:00 Central Time that this game between Army and Navy. Yeah, so it is 3:00 Eastern Time, 2:00 Central Time on CBS/Paramount Plus. So if you guys don't have anything better to do this Saturday, guys, maybe we should be watching this game and seeing what happens. This is only the 5th time that this game has a winning record by both teams. So I know in recent memory, probably a lot of us are like, oh, okay, we'll go watch something else, or But I think this year I'm gonna sit, I'm gonna enjoy it, and I feel like this has all the makings of a great game. Both teams are very much the same. They are a run first, kind of like that triple option offense. Strong defense, And what I want to do right now is kind of go over some of the stats. Now, I'm not going to do as detailed stats like I normally do. I just want to do a little bit here and there. That way, to get a feel for how this game could play out. Now, I want to point out I'm not doing the passing yards per game because both teams don't really pass. And in fact, Navy was, I think, like 130th or 131st. And I never saw Army on the list, so they, I don't even know how that's possible, but they didn't even make the list of like 130 some teams. So I, uh, I'm only going to do, the points per game, the rushing, the yards per carry, the defensive points allowed per game, the defensive rushing allowed, and defense per carry. So, it's not as detailed, but for these two teams, I mean, they're one of the same. And so a shorter description here is going to do very much, more justice than a detailed one. All right, now points per game. They're pretty similar. Army is 31.80. That is 31st in the nation. While Navy is 30.60, 39th in the nation. Rushing. This is where it gets interesting, guys. This is where it gets interesting right here. All right, rushing. Army, 306.30 rushing yards per game. That is first in the nation. Navy, 246.40. That is sixth best in the nation. Holy cow, guys. Holy cow. Is this going to be just is it going to be a low scoring game? Is it going to be a high scoring game? What's going to happen here? Because both teams are in the top 10 in rushing per game this season. So now rush per carry. Army has the advantage here. 5.67. That's fourth in the nation. Navy, though, isn't very far behind at 5.42. That's 11th in the nation. Basically, every time these two run the ball, they're getting a first down every two plays. And that's winning. I mean, you're gonna, you're definitely gonna win if you can get first downs and move the sticks. All right, now this is where it gets a little interesting. On the defensive side, points allowed per game. Army at 15.90 is eighth in the nation. So they sit at the 8th spot. Okay. Navy is 23.40, 43rd in the nation. All right, defensive rushing per game. This interests me, guys. I'm not going to lie. When I saw this stat line, I was intrigued. Okay, so Army is only allowing 96.10 rushing yards per game. That is fourth best in the nation, while Navy is allowing 164.80, 81st in the nation. Holy cow, guys. I don't know. That kind of worries me for Navy a little bit. Now, the defensive rush per carry is 3.69 for Army, 34th in the nation, and 4.30 allowed per carry for Navy. That's 78th in the nation. So their run defense for Navy is not as good as the run defense for Army. And I got to say that kind of bodes well for Army because Army likes to run that ball, as leading the league in rushing per game. This should be a great game, guys. It should be an absolute great game. Both teams run almost the same playbook. Both teams are run first. It will be fun to see who wins. Are you guys ready for my prediction? Because I have Army 28, Navy 20. An 8-point game. Army is favored, I believe, by 6.5. I don't see it being super high scoring. I don't think they, and honestly, now that I think about it, it could honestly be a little bit lower than that. It might be like a 21-17 type game because, you know, neither team allows a lot of points per game. And but they score a lot. So, I don't know. I just don't know how to, really predict it. But my first prediction is, and my final prediction is Army 28, Navy 20. Now, this game I'm going to watch, and we'll see how I do next week. You know, see if I got this game kind of close or if I wasn't close. Here, I'll go ahead and do another bold prediction. Army is going to rush for 340 yards in the game, and Navy will have 125. So Navy's passing game gets involved a little bit because I think if there's one weakness on the Army team, it is the defensive passing per game. So I think if Navy really kind of exploits that a little bit because they do have quarterbacks that can throw, they just prefer to run. I think this is what helps keep Navy in this game. So 28-20 Army over Navy. This is just a short one, guys. I just wanted to do a little bit of a history dive into this great rivalry game. I'm going to watch it. We're going to report back next week. You guys have a great day. I hope you guys join next time on Answer the Call. See you then.